The emergency klaxon cut through the freezing darkness like a serrated blade. Sergeant Cole slammed his fist against the release, the seal hissing as the cryopod hissed open. He tumbled onto the metal deck, his lungs burning with the intake of stale, recycled air. Pulsing red light bathed the bay in a rhythm that felt like a dying heartbeat. Across the room, a single pod stood empty, its glass shattered outward in jagged, ice-crusted shards. He stood, his boots ringing against the floor as he moved toward the corridor. The ship groaned, a deep, structural sound of metal under immense stress. Cole raised his flashlight, the beam cutting through the gloom to hit the wall. Deep, jagged gouges scarred the reinforced steel. Beside the marks, a ventilation grill hung bent and twisted, the metal edges hissing, where a thick, translucent fluid ate through the frame. The air smelled of burnt ozone and something sour, like decaying organic matter. Cole gripped his rifle, his knuckles whitening, as he realized the ship was no longer empty. A heavy, rhythmic thudding echoed from somewhere deep within the hull, followed by the sound of something sharp dragging against the bulkhead. Ramirez stepped out from the shadows, his weapon already at his shoulder. He kept his eyes locked on the ceiling while Cole swept the corridor with his light. They stopped at a flickering security terminal mounted to the bulkhead. Cole tapped the screen, clearing the static. A distorted shape crawled across the overhead rafters, its heat signature blooming in erratic, inhuman pulses on the display. It moved with the calculated efficiency of a soldier, yet possessed a predatory speed that defied physics. Cole rounded the corner, his finger hovering over the trigger. A sudden screech of tearing metal erupted from the shadows above. Before Cole could track the movement, the creature dropped from the ceiling. It slammed into Ramirez with the force of a falling bulkhead, pinning him against the wall. The creature's limbs locked onto his frame with mechanical precision. Ramirez gasped, his rifle clattering to the deck. Cole did not hesitate. He fired, the muzzle flash turning the dark corridor into a strobe of blinding white light. For a fraction of a second, he saw the creature's bioluminescent hide shimmer before it released its grip. It vaulted backward, vanishing into the vents with a sound like grinding glass. Silence flooded the hall, broken only by the frantic sound of Ramirez struggling to stand. The ship lurched violently, throwing Cole against the bulkhead. The deck plates groaned, a deep, metallic scream that resonated through the soles of his boots. He grabbed Ramirez by the shoulder, hauling him upright as the corridor began to tilt at a sickening angle. Gravity was failing, dragged down by the pull of a nearby planet. They scrambled forward, slipping on the slick floor, until they reached the heavy blast doors of the bridge. Cole punched the emergency override, his hands shaking as the door ground open with a screech of tortured metal. Inside, the bridge was a tomb of glass and twisted wiring. The navigation console lay in ruins, and the pilot's chair was empty, save for a single combat knife left behind. A low, rhythmic thumping echoed from the ceiling behind them, but when Cole spun around, the shadows were empty. The ship groaned again, a sound of catastrophic structural failure. A warning light flashed across the main view screen. Atmospheric reentry in 10 minutes. The Andromeda was tearing itself apart. Cole looked at the shattered viewport, the orange glow of the atmosphere creeping across the horizon. They had no time left. He grabbed an emergency oxygen tank, shoved it into his suit, and pointed toward the escape pods. Every second counted. They sprinted toward the escape pods, but a massive wall of pulsing, organic webbing blocked the path. Ramirez leveled his pulse rifle and fired. The obstruction dissolved into ash, but the heat intensity triggered the ship's fire suppression system. Thick, white foam erupted from the ceiling vents, instantly filling the corridor. Visibility dropped to zero. Cole stumbled, his boots sliding on the slick floor. The air turned heavy, tasting of chemicals and burnt plastic. He reached out, fingers grazing the cold steel of the bulkhead to steady himself. A low, guttural growl vibrated through the floor, coming from directly behind him. Cole spun around, but the foam obscured everything. He felt a sharp impact against his shoulder, knocking him to his knees. His rifle skittered away, lost in the white haze. He drew his combat blade, steel rasping against its sheath. He swung blindly into the mist, his arm connecting with something dense and unnaturally cold. The blade sank deep. A shriek tore through the air, a high, dissonant sound that rattled the very plates of the deck. The creature thrashed, its movements creating gusts of foam that swirled around them. Cole braced his feet against the wall, prepared for a counterstrike, but the corridor was suddenly silent once more. Cole scrambled to the airlock, his lungs burning from the chemical haze. He slammed his palm against the release, but the mechanism remained locked. The hull groaned, a screech of tearing metal that signaled the end. Cole jammed his knife into the override port, prying the lever with every ounce of his remaining strength. The steel groaned. The lever snapped and the door slid open. They tumbled inside the pod just as the ship shuddered, the floor beneath them giving way. Cole punched the ejection sequence. The pod blasted clear of the Andromeda, the force pinning them into their seats. Outside, the world turned into a firestorm. The ship tore itself apart, panels and wiring drifting into the void. Like burning debris, Cole pressed his face against the viewport, searching the wreckage. Through the flickering heat of the atmosphere, he saw it. The creature stood on the outer hull of the collapsing ship, its limbs braced against the tearing metal. It did not struggle, it did not flee. It simply watched the pod drift into the clouds, standing perfectly still amidst the chaos of the disintegrating vessel. It was the last thing Cole saw before they plunged into the dark, churning sky.